Good afternoon, everybody. Please take your seats. Good afternoon and welcome everybody here to the University of Chicago. My name is Shmyhal and I'm very proud to lead the Polsky Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship here at the university. Now, our mission at the Polsky Center is to advance ideas and technologies from the University of Chicago ecosystem to the world. And we're very fortunate to have the Prime Minister of Ukraine as our distinguished guest on campus today. And before we start our program, I'd like to thank all of the co-hosts from campus and their teams for making this event possible. So of course, we are here at International House, so thank you to them and their team, the Institute for Politics, my team at the Polsky Center, and of course, UChicago Global. Now, Chicago and Ukraine have many common bonds. There are over 100,000 Ukrainians who live in the Chicagoland region, 10,000 of which live in the Ukrainian Village neighborhood of the city. Kyiv and Chicago have been sister cities since 1991, sharing a long history of exchanging commerce and culture. And several prominent Chicago civic leaders are members of the Ukrainian American diaspora, including our governor, J.B. Pritzker, Penny Pritzker, who serves as the U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine's economic recovery, and of course Michael Polsky, a university trustee who's built one of the most successful renewable energy firms in the world, in addition to making our work at the Polsky Center possible. Another one of the common connections between Chicago and Ukraine is our campus community, as we have 24 Ukrainian students and 6 Ukrainian scholars here at UChicago. And our next speaker, Marko Suproniuk, is a member of the broader Ukrainian diaspora here on campus. Marko is an MBA student at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and has deep family roots in Ukraine and is a passionate advocate for Chicago, having grown up here. I had the pleasure actually of meeting with him recently, and he's emblematic of the types of talented students we have here in our campus community. So I'd like to ask Marko to come up to the podium to introduce the Prime Minister. Please give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Making me blush, Samir. Welcome to Resilience and Reconstruction, a conversation with Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal. My name is Marko Suproniuk. I am an MBA finishing in 45 days, and I am a member of the Student Advisory Board of the Institute of Politics. Today we are joined by Denis Shmyhal, the Prime Minister of Ukraine, who has held this role for 4 years, more than 4 years, which makes him the longest serving Prime Minister in Ukrainian history. He has a PhD in economics and is a former business executive. Over the last 4 years, he has led Ukraine through the COVID-19 crisis, as well as, of course, the full-scale invasion by Russian forces, which began in February 2022. Today's event is moderated by the director of the Institute of Politics, Heidi Heitkamp, who is the former U.S. Senator from North Dakota. Senator Heitkamp has recently visited Ukraine twice as part of the Renew Democracy Initiative, a nonpartisan group that is committed to combating threats to freedom around the world. The event is hosted jointly by the Institute of Politics, the Polsky Center for Entrepreneurship, and the University of Chicago International House, as well as the UChicago Global. Towards the end, there will be a microphone in the center, and feel free to line up and ask some questions. On a personal note, I'd like to share that I'm a proud Ukrainian American, and that means that over the last 10 years, when the war started in 2014, since that time, there's a lot of knowing what it's like to live with fear for your loved ones, fear for those in civilian areas that are getting shelled indiscriminately by Russian forces, but also fear for my family members who are in uniform, fighting and literally bleeding on the front line in their struggle for freedom and democracy. Now, to me, they are heroes, but so are all public servants who are fighting this fight on the battlefield of politics, which is why it is a huge personal privilege and honor for me to welcome you here, Prime Minister. Thank you for what you do, and please never give up. Вітаємо, дякуємо. And now, please join me in welcoming to the stage the Prime Minister of Ukraine and IOP Director Heidi Heitkamp.
dear President Ali Visatos, dear Director Heidkamp, dear students and faculty of the University of Chicago, distinguished and honored guests. It is a great joy for me to visit Chicago and to address the outstanding academic community and especially the most active part of the audience, the students. And it is a great honor to speak at the university where the first African-American president of the United States, Barack Obama, began his teaching and political career. Today's meeting gives me a special opportunity to express, on behalf of the government of Ukraine and the people of Ukraine, our gratitude to the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago for your unending support and solidarity with Ukraine over the past 783 days of full-scale war, Russia against Ukraine. Chicago has been a sister city of our courageous capital, Kyiv, since 1991. And on February 24, 2022, the very first day of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the city of Chicago made a decision we did not have to ask for. It suspended sisterhood with Moscow until the Putin's regime is held accountable for its crimes. Your solidarity, your desire for justice, your willingness to stand up for freedom is deeply appreciated by every Ukrainian. We will always remember the support of the American people in our struggle for freedom and independence. We appreciate it greatly and will never forget it. Our meeting today comes at a critical time. We are at a turning point of world history, and it is very difficult to overestimate what is at stake. This is not just about Putin versus Ukraine. It's not even about Putin versus the West and free world. We are talking about protecting the existing global security system against a worldwide threat of uncontrolled aggression, crimes against humanity and genocides in many parts of the world. Today, Ukraine's experience, Ukraine's past, can be an answer to many regional and global challenges. That is why today I want to talk about the 783 days of our struggle in this brutal war. There is a saying that armies win battles, but economies win wars. So today I would like to talk about Ukraine's resilience, wartime economy, and future recovery. As economists say, it's hard to make predictions, especially about the future. But I would also like to share what a Ukrainian economic miracle could look like, and where we are all the prerequisites for it. Before the full-scale invasion, Ukraine was showing positive trends. Ukraine was implementing market reforms and integrating into the European single market at a rapid pace. In 10 years, we planned to become a member of the European Union, a member of NATO. Ukraine would never return to the orbit of Russian influence as it was before 2014. For Putin and the Russian Empire, in his mind, it would have been a collapse. In the first months of the war, we were faced with something that is not in any textbook on public administration or economic theory. There was our initial situation, the capture of a large part of the country by the enemy, constant massive rocket attacks, destruction of infrastructure, including roads and bridges, hospitals, schools, kindergartens. About a third of energy generation facilities were occupied, shutdown of major industrial enterprises, internal and external migration of about 30% of the population, fuel crisis due to the destruction of oil refineries, storage facilities, and stoppage of imports due to the logistics, threat of food crisis, threat of disruption of the sowing season, blockades of ports through which Ukraine exported more than 70% of our goods and commodities. The need to increase spending of the army by almost 10 times. The need to maintain the banking system, public administration, and financial system. This is just a small part of what we faced. I remember that in the spring of 2022, we were told that you will be lucky if the Ukrainian economy falls by only 50% and the inflation could reach triple digits. It seems like the economy was in free fall. But 2 years later, the situation looks completely different. In the face of critical uncertainty, our government built its economic policy on the basis of broad ideas. Maximum bureaucratization, reducing the tax burden, creating incentives for the private sector, public-private partnership in the broadest sense of the word, solving the logistic bottlenecks, investment primarily in the defense industry. The financial and economic support of Ukraine's allies has also played an incredibly important role. Direct support is more than $80 billion. In 2023, the Ukrainian economy has already begun to recover. GDP grew up by 5.3%. More than 90% of Ukrainian enterprises have resumed their operations. Ukraine has reached pre-war export volumes. Consumer sentiments and business expectations are above the neutral level. The Ukrainian economy has undergone a major transformation and changed its structure during the war. If we look at the ratio of defense spending to GDP, Ukraine is currently spending on defense the most in the world. So defense spending to GDP is over 22%. The NATO benchmark is 2%. You may compare it. The production capacity of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex has increased tenfold, if not hundreds of times. For example, we have scaled up drone production 100 times. This year, Ukraine can produce up to 2 million drones, which have become a major game changer on the battlefield. Despite the rather high risks, a number of foreign arms manufacturers are already opening production facilities in Ukraine. We are allocating a huge amount of resources to defense, but we reject the so-called concept of the 20th century wartime economy or the Soviet concept of war economy. We are against the state becoming an economic leviathan when it takes over absolutely everything in economic life. We rely on the private sector. Hundreds of new companies and startups have emerged in the defense industry over this time, and innovations are being created there. The state acts as a partner. It coordinates. The state creates conditions for innovations. It provides incentives. But in defense, the state has its own facilities and production. So, of course, the state in Ukraine is not just a night watcher. This is our balanced and optimal model of wartime economy. What other policies does this model include? Incentives for job creation through support for small and medium businesses. War risk insurance for investments. Stimulating domestic demand for Ukrainian products. Stimulating export, including by improving access to foreign markets. Implementing a program for the rapid reconstruction of infrastructure and housing despite the ongoing war. Before turning to our plan for Ukraine's renaissance, I will briefly renew the historical context. The Marshall Plan, Celtic and Asian tigers, Japanese economic miracle, Polish shock therapy, and many other names are all descriptions of the incredible economic breakthrough that have taken place over the past 80 years. If you study all these incredible economic transformations, you can come to one conclusion. There is no universal recipe. Each story is unique. Also, There are centrally common features such as technological change, quality of human capital, attraction of foreign investments, reliance on an export-oriented economy, and support from international partners. So it's one of the crucial factors. Together with the World Bank, we have estimated that Ukraine's recovery needs amount to $486 billion, which is about 2.8 times Ukraine's nominal GDP in 2023. Obviously, rebuilding Ukraine will be the largest such project in the 21st century. By the way, the key principle of our recovery is in line with the name of the plan mentioned by President Biden in his inaugural speech, Build Back Better. The main resource for Ukraine's recovery should be Russian state assets frozen in Western countries. This is about $300 billion. We already built a coalition of partners for Ukraine's recovery. We name it United in Defense, United in Recovery. So it's clear for us. We have identified priority areas on which the Ukrainian economy of the future will be based. Defense industry, agriculture with a focus on processing, machine building, construction industry, IT industry. It's one of the crucial sectors which is increasing during the all full-scale wartime, despite the wartime. Energy, primarily nuclear, green, and maybe a little bit blue energy. Among the key principles, we will rely on integration in global value and production chains, European integration. Ukraine will definitely be a member of the European Union in the coming years, no doubt. Public-private partnership and export-oriented economy. Significant natural resources and availability of critical raw materials. We have deposits of 22 out of 30 minerals that are on the list of critical raw materials for the EU. Well-developed logistics and proximity to Europe, which allows us to implement the concept of nearshoring. Strong human capital. Ukraine is a country with a highly educated and mobile workforce that has potential in engineering and mechanical engineering. We will not just win the war, but we should win the peace after this war. By rebuilding our country, it's again clear for all of us. Before I conclude, let me thank the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation for facilitating our great meeting today. I am particularly pleased that the center's patron is Michael Polsky, a distinguished alumnus of the University of Chicago School of Business with Ukrainian roots. Just like Igor Sikorsky, another innovator from Ukraine who came to the United States to transform aviation, Michael Polsky's Invenergy is leading the world towards sustainable energy. Both of these visionaries began their journeys at the Kyiv Polytechnic Institute in Ukraine. And today I am especially pleased to see with my own eyes the results of the creative energy of Chicago and Ukrainian innovative thoughts. I would like to thank you very much for your hospitality and wish all the young people who are presented here every success in your studies and in your careers, as well as a courage and resilience in the face of the challenges of history that you will undoubtedly meet in the years to come. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for everything what you do for support peace and democratic values for my country, for all global world. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm ready to...
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
I think you can see, Mr. Prime Minister, the tremendous support there is, but also respect for the courage of the Ukrainian people who really are on the vanguard of Western democracy. And the challenges are many. By way of definition, or at least some kind of marking of my past experience with this event, I'm served as the president of something called Renew Democracy Initiative, and as part of that effort, brought a group of journalists to Ukraine at a critical time in May when there seemed to be a waning of interest in the United States about the Ukrainian war. And then again came back with Howard G. Buffett Foundation that has literally invested $500 million in keeping Ukrainian agriculture going and demining, which is a critical piece of your recovery. And so I have seen firsthand the devastation of your country at the hands of Putin and the Russian soldiers, but I also have seen firsthand the resolve of the incredible Ukrainian people at every level. And so congratulations. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least have a discussion about the news of the day. We have been waiting for a long time to pursue a policy in our country of assistance towards Ukraine. And today it was announced by the Speaker of the House, Speaker Johnson, Mike Johnson, that he would in fact pursue 4 separate pieces of legislation in aid. The first piece would be Ukraine. We would have a piece for Israel, a piece for Taiwan, and then, interestingly enough, because you mentioned it, an auxiliary piece which would include the sale of seizure of assets. And so we're waiting to find out. Obviously, the Senate has already passed a pretty robust piece of legislation for support. I think many times it's not really understood how critical this support is to the Ukrainian effort to maintain your sovereignty. And so maybe take a minute to persuade not just this audience, because they're probably already persuaded here, but to persuade a broader audience about the importance of American continuous involvement in the efforts to help Ukraine maintain their sovereignty and protect their independence.
Thank you so much, dear Heidi, Madam Director. Thank you so much that you visited Ukraine in person. It's absolutely different impression when you take a look on TV picture and when you are among of this, all of this what Russians are caused in Ukraine. So thank you also to all American people for unwavering support of Ukraine. We really survive thanking to support of our partners and especially for support of United States and Biden's administration, your Congress and Senate. We have 2 years support. Now we are really waiting for this next step for voting in Congress to support Ukraine. Situation on the ground is difficult. We not cover this by some, I don't know, mild things. It's really difficult because we have 1 artillery shell and the ratio is 1 to 10. So Russians use 10 in the front line. As a new, I visit front line in person to take a look how is the business there. 4 weeks ago, guys tell me that we used 1 to 5 artillery shells per day for 20 kilometers of the front line. It's nothing comparing with hundreds which Russians used. And because of this situation, we lost Avdiivka, we lost some other villages, and it's impossible to win the war having a ratio of 1 to 10 in artillery. We also have not enough air defense. So Russians continue modernize their missiles, their aviation bombs, and they learn lessons. And during this time, while we are waiting for the support from the partners, Russians continue modernize all of their technologies. They exchange technologies with North Korea, with Iran. They have support from other countries I will not name, but we all know from whom, from which. And we are absolutely not exhausted. We are tired. It's a natural, but we need more weaponry. And it's important to have this support from United States. Why? Because we protect not just our homes and our land, our families. We protect our common values all around the globe. And this is about global security. As I told, it's not about Putin's aggression against Ukraine. This is about exchange of, not even exchange, but destroying all global security system which exists for last 80 years. So if Ukraine will fall, if you will lose this war, so global security will be destroyed. And we all will be under under huge danger. And we will need to find new solution how to build new global security, or we will not build and we will live in new era when the wars all around the globe will exist, will emerge. It will be dozens of conflicts, smaller and bigger, and in the end of the day it could lead to the Third World War, because it will increase and increase and increase. So actually now we are talking about protecting of the existing and good global security system. So about this we are talking. And once more important thing, that support of United States is not charity. This is absolutely pragmatic idea to support Ukraine and support United States producers, because this amount, which United States, this huge amount, which were paid for support of Ukraine in military sphere, were spent in United States. So all United States companies have these investments for production of military equipment, for weaponry, for ammunition, and then it were sent to Ukraine, and we use this to protect our common values. So this is like both beneficial story for supporting to each other. And plus the next recovery project is the biggest one on the European continent. So we today have very good meeting with Chicago businesses, with Illinois businesses. It was absolutely great, and I believe and I invite United States business to participate in recovery of Ukraine, to earn money together and to build our hundreds years of partnership for our countries.
It's an incredible story. And if you could just spend just 1 minute talking about the kind of aid, because I think that many people in this country believe that we are literally flying in pallets of dollars to Ukraine, as opposed to providing munitions and providing support to the effort. And a lot of that is helping the American economy as it grows. But if I can just for a moment tell a story about meeting some soldiers on the front who literally were using old equipment from a bakery to fight this fight. The innovation and the ability of the Ukrainian soldiers to adapt. And a lot of what they're receiving is equipment that has aged out, but your innovation in your country has made it work somehow. And I think you should brag a little bit about the innovation and the resilience of the soldiers on the front.
Thank you so much. So I should say that our budget is not so big. So Ukrainian budget before the war was about $40 billion per year, annual budget. So now we spend $40 billion for support of our defense forces and for buying weaponry. So we spent every $1 collected in Ukrainian budget for our military purposes. So all the rest purposes, social, humanitarian, are covered by our partners. And this is crucially important to save sustainability of our economy, to have possibility to collect all of this money and pay to our soldiers and to buy weaponry to protect our country and our mutual values. But to compare, our budget for military purposes is 40 billion and Russia has $120 billion budget per year. So it's 3 times higher. So you understand that we should have support in military sphere to have balance, as a minimum have balance, not to prevail under Russia, to have possibility to win. But what demonstrates modern war of today's? I never couldn't imagine 2 years ago that we will have full-scale war on European continent in 21st century. It was impossible for me and for all of us, but now we have it. And what it demonstrates. Thank you so much, you give me this pass. And I should say that how we compensate lack of ammunition, lack of long and middle range equipment. So we produce drones And 2 years ago, drone production in Ukraine was 0. So 2 years ago, we have no one producers of drones in Ukraine. 1 year ago, we produced 6,000 drones. 6,000 drones in last year. This year we will produce 2 million drones, 100% localization in Ukraine. So we developed this, we create this market of drone production. Now we create another markets for production, another high technological equipment to win this war. And each drone play a crucial role on the battlefield. And now, having no artillery munition, we use drones to destroy Russian tanks, Russian heavy armored vehicles, howitzers, Russian troops on the battlefield, and it helps our soldiers to resist, to stop the Russian offensive. Actually, we need artillery. Without artillery, it's impossible to win this war. But very bright example. We liberate 50% of occupied by Russia territories. So we demonstrate that we may do it. And we do it in the first months when we have our own stocks of ammunition and equipment. So we just go into ahead and liberate in the first days. Now we liberate Black Sea. Having our own fleet in the Black Sea, we liberate this sea from the Russian fleet at all. We destroy more than about 30 Russian warships in the Black Sea with help of small sea drones. We name it Baby Sea. So it's a small boat, a small drone, which is going into the Black Sea and for 1,000 kilometers and destroy Russian warships. And now there is no one Russian warship in the Black Sea. So they hide this somewhere on the occupied Georgian territories. They create a new port and hide all of their warships there because they are afraid small drones in the Black Sea. So the same technology, the same tactics we implement on the ground in the front line. Every night we use different kind of drones, kamikaze drones, bombers, intelligence drones to find the information, so intelligent information. Then we use bombers and in the night destroy Russian techniques. We don't let sleep Russian soldiers, and we exhaust their army every night and every day. And this tactics works, and I believe that in one day it will work in the same way like it works in the Black Sea. So this is about innovation in the military sphere, but we also implement many innovative decisions in IT sphere, especially if we will speak and talk about public administration. So Ukraine, I think now is one of the leaders in the world for implementing public services, digital public and state services. We create special application, DIA, it's action in English, through which we bring to people 30 state services. And on portal DIA, so we bring to people more than 130 public and state services. So it's even everything. You may have all electronic passport, electronic ID, electronic driver's license, everything, COVID certificates. We implement so-named painted money. So it was first in our history during COVID time. We gave this money to people to support these industries which suffer because of the lockdown. During the first days of the war, we share about $1 billion among the people which became refugees and internally displaced persons, and which have these people have nothing because they just run from this Russian aggression through the night with no documents, without nothing, no commodities, no documents, and we reach every such a person in days. And we, because every person has its mobile phone, and we send to the mobile phone money to save these people, and each one could buy something with this money, and it led them to survive into the first days of the war. We go to the electronic government. So my government and cabinet meetings are holding online and through the so everything what is possibly digitalized, we digitalized. And this is actually one of the state services and public services innovations which let us survive during this full-scale war.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. I want to turn to the current economy and your resiliency, and then recovery. During my visit, I experienced kind of an eerie sense of normalcy. When you're in Kyiv, you can go out to dinner, you can enjoy dancing and go to the clubs. Children are going to school, and farmers are planting crops and harvesting crops in middle of what is really a horrific conflict for your country. And I think it speaks to the courage and the resiliency, but it also, during my visits in May, I saw more optimism than I saw in September. And I'm wondering, what is your perception of the morale? Because you cannot win this war without the belief that you can win the war. What is your perception today of the morale of the Ukrainian people and their willingness to stay in this challenge and push back Russian aggression?
Thank you. Important question because of the this moral stage of society, and army defense forces play a crucial role. I should say that Ukrainian government, Ukrainian defense forces are absolutely in normal moral stage to protect our country and to continue protect and win this war in the end of the day with support of our partners and especially United States. I should say that we are under the hybrid and so-named multi-dimensional war when Russia is leading this war on the different dimensions, on the ground, in the sea, in the air, but also in the informational space, also in the cyberspace. So this influences on the different part of the population, on the different part of the society differently. So there are some people which are under the huge, tremendous pressure, informational pressure and disinformational pressure of the Russian propaganda and Russian disinformation. We every day and every night are suffering because of the Russian cyber attacks. So all of these dimensions have influence on some part of the population. And because of this, you may see that some people are tired, but it doesn't mean that our society would like to stop and do not protect our lives, because we are a victim. And if victim will stop the fight, so victim will die immediately. So we have no other way to protect ourselves. We count on support of our partners. We have support from European Union. Now Europe is waking up, and all of this situation which repeats in different parts of the world make the situation with waking up all of the countries. And I believe that United States will continue their leadership and will support Ukraine and will support democracy in our country, on European continent, as it was always before.
Yeah, if you think about Russian propaganda and Russian misinformation regarding what's happening, it's not just happening in your country, it's happening all over the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Including in our country. I want to talk a little bit, as you probably know, the Chancellor of Germany today is meeting with the Chinese leadership, trying to encourage them to back off any kind of support for China. How important are those kind of efforts to try and build more international support to basically push back against this aggression with, at this point, more neutral, although allied in some ways, countries like China?
So we are living in one world, on the same planet, so we should have dialogue between ourselves. Now we propose to all of our partners peace formula. So actually President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, proposed this how to stop this war for long term and on the long term and sustainable basis. And actually, this peace formula should be supported by all of the countries, and we count during the peace forum in Switzerland in June of this year. We will gather on the diplomatic table more than 100 countries, including China, India, Brazil, so named Global South countries, West countries, and we will agree about conditions how to stop Russia, how to make global pressure on Russia to stop this bloody and unprovoked war, how to stop Putin. And actually, this is idea to join and to gather all the countries. Because of this, visit of Chancellor of Germany is very important. Dialogue with China is critically important. China play crucial role in influence on Russia. Now Russia is exchanging their export flows from Europe, from United States to China to India. So we understand that China and India, Brazil, Africa are playing crucial role for supporting of Russian economy, Russian military economy right now. And important to negotiate with them, bring them their position, our mutual position, that we should stop this and we should bring back global security system and stabilize this global security system. Another way we will go to the uncertainty and who knows how it will finish.
We only have a few minutes of you and I having a discussion. I'd like to talk about the reconstruction because I think a lot of people would see this as a gift to Ukraine. How vulnerable would Ukraine be if today you were able to push back and secure once again Ukrainian borders, but not build back your economy long term? How vulnerable does that leave you to a second attack and a second invasion?
I think that we should liberate 100% of our lands, and we should come on our borders, which are internationally recognized as on 1991, recognized by UN, and then we should stay member of EU. It is our ambition to be member of NATO in future, and we work hard and do our homework to be the member of NATO. Actually, we are member of NATO in fact because we are fighting with NATO weaponry, we are using NATO standards, so our army is now using everything what NATO using. But politically, we'll see how we will solve this. We are waiting for a future Washington summit, NATO summit. This summer, we'll see which political decision we will have there. But I think that after liberation, we will need to continue product all needed to protect our country and to protect European borders. First of all, number one priority is air defense. We all can see this model when Russia destroy our civilian infrastructure every day, every night, 2 years. This is thousands bombs, missiles, Iranian drones, which are destroying our infrastructure. So air defense is number one priority. Long and middle range equipment to have possibility destroy Russian logistic in case of repeat of aggression. We also need to create this, and also innovation. So the main challenge is coordination all of this and implementation of the new technologies for coordination all this air defense, sea defense, situation on the ground. So drone production is very important. So we will continue develop our military tech. I believe that Ukraine will be very successful in this, and we try to we train and we try to use this all in practical conditions. So now Ukraine is a big polygon, training polygon for all the countries, because we have all kind of air defense. We have all kind of weaponry from all of the countries, and we may see how it works in real conditions. So we will continue do this. We also will continue develop other innovations, and it will let us more or less secure feeling that we may protect our country and we may protect European borders. I think that also we should protect our sky. So F-16 air jets is crucially important. Again, this long term of supplying F-16s to Ukraine gave Russia another time to prepare for this, and unfortunately it could be so that F-16s will be not so effective as it would be 1 year ago, as it could be 1 year ago. So everything is very good just in time. So because of this, we ask for support just in time, timely supplying of artillery ammunition, timely supplying of air defense, because if we will have air defense in half year, so we will have no what to protect, because Russians will destroy everything. So all of our energy infrastructure, all of our civilian infrastructure. So during this war, everything very important just in time. Yeah. It's crucial.
When you look at the Ukrainian people, they have suffered greatly, and we're fortunate that since the Civil War, we have not had that level of conflict on our soil. I have seen school children in Ukraine traumatized, looking at trying to do lessons in bomb shelters, families who have been traumatized by Russian atrocities and war crimes. But we also have seen millions of Ukrainians leave the country to flee for support. When you look at the challenges of bringing your population back and repairing or helping to repair the damage that's been done to the Ukrainian people, how prepared are you today? If the war ended today, how prepared are you to deal with the post-traumatic, a whole country that has post-traumatic stress, and a whole country that needs to once again reunite and bring people back to their country?
So short statistics: 40 million Ukrainians before the full-scale aggression. 5 million, about 5 million refugees abroad. About 7 million internally displaced persons. About 3 million people on the occupied territories. 20,000 children were kidnapped by Putin's regime and kidnapped into Russia. About 1 million children are refugees with their parents. So demographically, this is a terrible situation. This is demographic catastrophe. We understand this. When we ask our refugees, which is the main crucial factor which will push you to come back into Ukraine, this is a security. So they all are waiting while the war will finish, and we will bring security on our land. So this is the number one factor. The second factor is job. So they need job to earn money and to pay for all what they need for on daily basis. So job creation is another very important task and challenge for us. Because of this, we invite all of the investors. We try to develop a new kind of cooperation between state and businesses. I explained this during my remarks. And we try to create new markets. We make new programs, grants to support people and to create possibility for small, micro, and medium businesses. So we gave small grants to people to organize just small businesses for them. And this will be second factor to create big quantity of jobs. Actually, we lost 3.5 million jobs during the first months of the full-scale aggression. So we need to recover these jobs. And I believe that actually recovery projects in Ukraine will create this quantity of jobs. So these two factors will be the crucial to bring back mostly all the refugees and internally displaced persons to the different spheres. I also should say thank you so much that you ask about this mental stage of our society, our children, our women. Really, many of Ukrainians has this traumatic syndrome. And unfortunately, we lost people every night and every day, unfortunately, on the front line and in the normal cities, in Kiev, in West Ukrainian cities, because of the Russian missiles, Russian and Iranian drones. So we lost people every day, and our people are under pressure of this post-traumatic syndromes. We create program which is led by First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska. This program in Ukrainian names Yakty. In English is How are you? So because we all are asked, how are you? And the name of this program for mental health is How are you? And it's a great program for Ukraine. It covers all the population, and I believe that it will help us to go through this post-traumatic syndrome.
Yeah. And I hope that so many organizations in this country are interested in what we can do using telehealth training on mental health, how we can help, given our experience and our research on post-traumatic stress. And we do want to brag a little bit here at the University of Chicago. One of our benefactors, Penny Pritzker, has been tasked, and I know you met with Penny earlier, former Secretary of Commerce, but has been tasked by President Biden to assist you in trying to achieve some understanding in this country, but also build a global support for rebuilding your economy, which is essential to securing your lasting peace. Before I turn over, I do want to talk about what I saw in terms of the resolve of the Ukrainian government and its people to hold Russia accountable for war crimes. The documentation is there. The proof is there beyond what has already been recognized with the kidnapping of Ukrainian children and taking them out of your country. Beyond that, there are many, many more atrocities, many more examples of war crimes. How important do you think it is, not just to Ukraine and recovery kind of your national sense of security, to hold Russia accountable, but how important it is it to us to hold Russians accountable for the war crimes?
So first of all, we work hard to create international tribunal for the crimes of aggression. So we have all the materials for 144,000 of war crimes. But this is a war crimes, and this is criminals are actually Russian soldiers. But the main crime is crime of aggression. So political decision to make this unprovoked, illegal aggression against Ukraine. So Putin and his regime should be punished for this, and only international tribunal, such kind like was after big conflicts after Second World War and in some other cases, it should be international tribunal, which should be led by international coalition of countries. And this is a number one punishment for Putin's regime. The second stage of punishment for Russian regime should be confiscation of frozen Russian assets or immobilized Russian assets. All around the world, about $300 billion is immobilized in different countries, mostly in Belgium, in Euroclears, it's about $200 billion. So we need them all to use this for recovery of Ukraine. This is the number one purpose for us. And we understand that we may use legally, so legal mechanism, international recognized legal mechanism, countermeasures. So we may take these assets, sovereign assets of Russian state, and use this for reconstruction or as a victim, as a country victim, for reconstruction of our economy and our infrastructure. But it will be not enough. In future, I think that we should find solution how to implement additional taxation for the export of Russian raw materials, oil, gas, and maybe diamond, something like this. But this is the number one purpose which is important for us as a country. But the second reason of this punishment, it should be demonstrated to all potential aggressors, to all dictators, that such kind of unprovoked illegal aggression will be punished, and you will pay for this in the end of the day. So this is crucially important for this global security system which we have last 80 years and which we would like to bring back on the globe. So we should demonstrate that any kind of unprovoked aggression, illegal aggression, will be punished. This is the main reason.
One of the really interesting pieces of the war crime work that's being done is the analysis of the environmental damage and including that in a potential tribunal, whether it is exploding mines on farmlands, what does that do to long-term viability of farmlands, whether it's dams destroyed. There's tremendous environmental damage, and I was impressed when I met with the staff for the president that there is a very heavy focus on environmental crimes and environmental war crimes on behalf of the Ukrainian people.
I can only, again, give a statistics that the billions of dollars of needs just to recover of this environment losses and damages which this aggression caused. They destroy one of the biggest artificial water lake on the European continent. So 18 cubic kilometers of water in 3 days. They just destroyed dam of Kakhovska artificial water lake, and it was damaged everything in south of Ukraine, in Black Sea. I think that thousands of dolphins were died and thousands of animals were died. Hundreds of human lives were gone. From both on the occupied territories and under controlled by Ukraine territories. They also occupied Zaporizhia nuclear power station, and I should say that this is a catastrophe which is not exist right now, but we are under tremendous danger because Russians occupying Zaporizhia nuclear power station. This is 6 nuclear blocks, 1 gigawatt each. This is like 6 times bigger than Chernobyl. So everyone knows everything about Chernobyl nuclear catastrophe. So you may just imagine 6 times bigger nuclear power station now is occupied, and they are not managing this absolutely incorrectly, and they have no professionals. And now IAEA, International Nuclear Energy Agency, is looking for the situation, and they can see hundreds of cases when Russia just managed this in not proper way. So we are under tremendous danger, all the European continent. So, and many other cases of influence.
I want to invite, and as is true always at the University of Chicago, we want to give preference to our students in asking questions, but we also have a microphone in the balcony for any of the students who want to line up. If you would go ahead and line up with a question, you have to stand by the mic and we can call on you from there. But once again, please, let's give preference to students. You came here to talk to students, right?
Absolutely.
Not just us.
Thank you
old
so
people.
much. It is a privilege to speak with students. Absolutely.
Well, you met 20-some Ukrainian students who were here. They were thrilled to see you. They looked a little homesick when they were lining up. Thank you, Prime Minister, for continue to give them hope that they'll have a country to return to. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. My name is Sofia Kolos, and I am from Kharkiv, Ukraine, and I am a second-year student here at the University of Chicago. And you talked a lot today about internally displaced people, but also we know there are a lot of internally displaced businesses, and we know that Eastern Europe was always a big part of Ukrainian economy. So I was just wondering if you could talk more about the steps that are being taken right now or will be taken in the future to further support the growth of Eastern Ukraine and its economic growth.
So the best way to support Eastern Ukraine to liberate all of our lands and bring back security. So you know, and we all understand this. Now there are frontline and Kharkiv is under daily attacks. Unfortunately, they try to destroy the city at all. So they are bombing this by guided bombs, 1.5 ton each. And now they are trying to use 3 tons bombs. So one such a guided bomb can destroy all the street, not only the one block. And unfortunately, they continue destroy all the civilian infrastructure in Kharkiv, in your native city. So it's so painful to take a look on this, but we should fight and we should liberate our lands. You are right. We take from the East Ukraine about 1,000 enterprises and relocate them to the west of Ukraine. And now they are working in more or less secured conditions, and they continue fulfill the Ukrainian budget, support Ukrainian economy. But from my communication with them, mostly them all, and especially people, employees which are working on this in these companies, they want to go back home, and they all are intent. They have strong intention to rebuild their cities, and actually, I think that we will rebuild everything and recover everything. We should just win this war with support and help of United States, of our friends and partners.
I want to thank you for your quick question, and want to encourage everyone to use her great example and make sure that we're not spending 5 minutes setting it up, but that we're actually answering or asking a question. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for the good advice. I've got 2 sentences. The second one ends in a question mark. And my name is Jared. I'm a second-year student at the Booth School of Business. So, Prime Minister, the example of Ukraine is so inspiring because it's a reminder that the West is, one, not just a place between Berlin and California, but a state of mind. And that, 2, many countries have joined the Western Alliance by choice over recent decades, from Poland to Israel to Japan and others. As your country seeks to fully join the West, I'm curious, what does Western civilization mean to you and to the people of Ukraine?
This is our existential choice. So we choose to be part of civilized democratic world. So it's in our constitution to be a member of European Union, to be a member of NATO, and we have no other way, we have no other path. So actually our government and our president, we bring to the parliament new legislation. One of these draft laws is draft law for implementation of English language as a second official language in Ukraine, so a language of international communication. This is, I believe that nearest months we will implement this draft law, and this is all, I just give you this small example to demonstrate you that this is actually dramatic and global shift for European continent and for civilized world. So we decided never belong to Russian Empire, to Soviet Union, to such kind of colonial systems. And we would like to be the part of democratic civilized world. And we would like to be part of global security system which exists and which gave all of us this peaceful dividends. So actually this is our choice. And I will repeat, it's our existential choice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Prime Minister. It's an honor. So given the isolationism in U.S. politics, how worried are you about the second Trump administration, given his remark on walking out of NATO and NATO being a critical part of support to Ukraine? And what would you say to the uncommitted young voters in the U.S. who see there's no difference between Trump and Biden, at least in the Hamas conflict, the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza?
So this is the most asked question to me in the United States. Are we afraid the second term of former President Trump or no? I should answer you and all the Americans that if we have support of American people, so it's your choice who will be your president. But if American society, American people support Ukraine in our fight against of unprovoked Russian aggression, we will have support from you, directly or indirectly. You will press on your politicians, on your Congress, on your Senate, on your president, and they will support. So all around the world, since the first days of this aggression, we have seen different relation of the politicians to the war in Ukraine. Some of them tell us, we will never support you, we are neutral, our society is not support you, but guys, let's run faster because they will kill you. You have 20 minutes, you have 2 hours, you have 3 days. So it was different discussions during the first days. But in the end of the day, when societies in European countries all around the world come on the streets and tell their politicians that you should support Ukraine because Ukraine is a victim and we want to win this war together with Ukrainians. So all the politicians, after the first months, begin the biggest supporters of Ukraine. And we appreciate this social pressure on the international politics to support Ukraine. And thank you so much, because each one of you supporting Ukraine creates these social pressures all around the globe to support Ukraine in our fight. So because of this, we are not disturbed who will be next elected president of United States. We know if people of United States support us, so president of United States will support Ukraine too, as wish all the society of your country.
We're going to go up to the balcony for a question.
Hi, Prime Minister. It's Lakshay. Really nice to meet you. I have a quick question. Every country's primary duty is to act in the favor of its own economic interest. Developing economies like India and Brazil have increased their consumption of Russian exports to further their own economic growth. What are your thoughts and feelings on this?
May I clarify your question? Could you?
Yeah, so every country's primary duty is to act in its favor of its own economic interests. Mm-hmm. Developing economies like India and Brazil have increased their consumption of Russian exports to further their own economic interests. What are your thoughts and feelings on this?
So it's very simple for me. So every company, every country which pay money to Russian budget, financing their bloody aggression against Ukraine. So for me, it's clear. This is a choice of that countries. Unfortunately, not all the leaders all around the world understand this very simple conditions. But in any way, sanctions of West countries are acting. They are effective. We cooperate with United States for implementation of secondary sanctions. Don't give Russia and their allies to avoid of these implemented sanctions. And I think that in the end of the day, it will lead that Russian budget will suffer, and it should suffer because of this aggression. This is the third part of this punishment of Russia because of this unprovoked illegal aggression against Ukraine. All the rest countries, I think, should understand this, and they will understand this. But actually, this is one of the points why we want to have all the countries on the diplomatic table for peace formula, to give them this clear understanding that financing Russian budget, they continue and support this bloody aggression.
Yeah. We'll take one down here and then we'll move back up to the balcony.
Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
My name is Nikita. I'm also from Kharkiv, Ukraine. Recently, I defended my PhD in chemistry. And my dad, since the early days of war, joined the military and has been stationed on the front lines ever since. So I'm here to ask the question on his behalf. Since the winter, since the change in the army leadership, there was a significant drop in the morale, specifically after the departure of General Zaluzhny. So the question is, what was the decision behind the removal of General Zaluzhny, as well as has that decision led to any significant changes in the Ukrainian position in war?
Thank you so much. So, there in Ukraine now we have a wartime, so there is martial law. According to the martial law, president is Верховний Головнокомандувач, Supreme Commander, and it's his own decision how to manage by military forces. And actually, I do not see any specific reasons why President can't manage this defense forces commanders to try to make higher effectivity. So, for example, it is just example. One chief commander proposed to make mobilization 500,000. Another chief commander make rotations on the front line, and now we have reserves inside of our existing military forces, and we need no such a big mobilization. It's much less people we need to mobilize to support our military forces. And many other examples how our officers and generals are managing this situation. Situation on the front line now is difficult, not because of the chief commander, but because of the delay for supplying of air jets, artillery ammunition, long and middle range equipment to cut Russian logistics. So this is the main reason why we have now difficult situation on the ground. But I think that today's Chief Commander Syrski is the most experienced, so his experience on the ground is 10 years. So since 2014, he is on the front line with guys and girls. I told you that I visited front line from time to time, and 4 weeks ago I was there, and our soldiers are absolutely in normal mood, and they respect General Syrski because he spent even all of the time with them on the front line. Actually, he is fighting general who is spending time with soldiers, and they respect him. And I believe that he is very effective chief commander for our defense forces for this time.
So we'll go up to the balcony.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister, for your conversation today. My name is Julia Sosnievka, and I'm a first-generation Ukrainian immigrant here. My parents came over from Lviv, and I'm currently a program officer with a nonprofit called World Chicago. We facilitate international programs on the basis of citizen diplomacy, and so you talked a lot about how international cooperation is important in fostering peace. What would you say local level diplomacy or citizen diplomacy does for the communities in Ukraine? We recently had a few fellows from Ukraine that came over and got a chance to live and work here for a few weeks. And so we see the impact here in the city of Chicago, but what would you say is the impact of the communities in Ukraine through citizen diplomacy initiatives? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. So, before the full-scale war, we finished one of the most successful reform of decentralization there in Ukraine, and we create 1,469 communities. And it's crucially important that these communities now are very active in this inter-communities communication with all around the world. And as you know, Chicago and Kyiv are sister city, and today we have very important meeting with mayor of Chicago, and we discuss actually communication and cooperation between communities. And I'm really grateful to Chicago community, to Illinois communities, and all the non-profit organizations, all the institutions which support Ukraine. And we know how much you do for support of Ukraine, for support different communities. And for us, I actually stimulate to have these cooperations on the community, institutions, non-governmental organizations level cooperation, because this is a huge quantity of connections which may bring very good result. Because when politicians, president to president or prime minister to prime minister, it's very, very narrow channel of communication. But when communities communicate between themselves, when the cities and villages, communities find sisterhood among the other communities all around the world, this support became just huge, just tremendous. So it's crucially important, and thank you so much for your work, and thank you so much for this question, because it's, again, existential.
If I can just take a moment, The German Marshall Fund, along with the Howard Buffett Foundation, is doing a series of meetings in places where people aren't hearing a lot about Ukraine and about the challenges, particularly talking to rural Americans. And there's a lot of need for that kind of effort to talk about what's happening, and the ambassador has been very engaged in sending the message. And so there's a lot of work in communities that may be persuaded that this is not important to them to have that dialogue. They can decide whether it's important or not, but I think there's a lack of information about the significance and the connectivity of the Ukrainian struggle and what could happen if, in fact, Ukraine is not successful to the American population, American democracy. So I would encourage you to look beyond the bounds of Chicago on how you can continue to communicate your concern. We'll take a question down here.
My name is Victoria. I'm a first-year Master of Public Policy student and an intern here at the International House. So yesterday at Ukraine Action Summit in Washington, D.C., several congressmen raised their concerns that confiscation of Russian assets might be legally disputable. How would you react and respond to those concerns?
Thank you so much. Actually, tonight we will fly to Washington and will participate in spring meetings of World Bank and IMF. And I believe that we will have very good round table, while not official, not loud, for confiscation of frozen Russian assets. I will repeat that there is international recognized mechanism, countermeasures, when country is aggressor, so we may confiscate all of their sovereign assets to compensate their losses and damages caused by their aggression. We also propose to create international compensation mechanism. So it includes three parts. First one is created. So this is an international register of damages and losses. It's registered, is acting in Hague. The second part is International Compensation Commission, and the third part is International Compensation Fund. And then International Register will fix all the damages and losses. Then International Commission will decide how, in which way to compensate this, and Fund will compensate this. So, and there also are some internationally recognized legal ways how to use these frozen Russian assets. The first one is to confiscate this, but there are another mechanism which let us do not confiscate frozen assets, but use this, for example, as a collateral, and to give the guarantees for this international fund, and then finance through this fund all needs for recovery through the, for example, World Bank. It will be very accountable, it will be very transparent, so everyone, every partner all around the world will see how this money are used for recovery, and everything will be very, very transparent. And we also may use another one mechanism. It names reparations loan. It also internationally recognized, and we will discuss all of these conditions. So I know that United States now is leader of this idea to confiscate frozen Russian assets, but not all G7 countries support this idea. So because of this, we should bring to the table all G7 decision makers and to give them all the arguments, how will we use this. So actually, this is our homework for this year, because we understand that next year we should use these frozen Russian assets for support and for recovery of Ukraine.
And just as an aside, constitutional scholar Lawrence Tribe has looked at this, and if you want to see his work where he concludes that it would not be unconstitutional to divert these assets, that's on the RDI website, and you might want to take a look at that. Yeah.
Thank you.
The ambassador is giving me cues down here. We've spent a lot of time working on this stuff, yeah.
Hi, Prime Minister. Thanks for being here. I'm Tony, a graduate student from Taiwan. Could you share insights into Ukraine's diplomatic strategies for garnering continuous global support against aggression, as we, the Taiwanese people, are observing how the global community reacts and provides support when conflicts escalate? How might Taiwan apply similar strategy in its own diplomatic efforts to ensure international solidarity and assistance in time of crisis? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So actually, you are supporting us on the all international grounds, and especially in UN. It's crucially important to implement all the UN resolutions. It has tremendous influence. It's a different estimation, but we know that resolutions on the all international grounds are playing crucial role. So now Taiwan is under, I think, that very tremendous threat. And so actually, it is like situation in Ukraine before 2014. So it's a very important task for all of us to demonstrate on the example of Ukraine that any kind of unprovoked aggression will be punished. And I think that this is the best way how to save Taiwan from any possible kind of aggressions. And all the same situations all around the globe should be stopped through the winning war in Ukraine. So it's my personal view, but I think that you actually ask about this, how are we looking on the situation. So I think that, thank you for this question, but I think that we are on the same page and Taiwan is supporting us, such as
We're going to go up to the balcony.
other partners. Thank you.
Hi, Prime Minister. Thank you for your visit. My name is Matthew Liss, and I'm a first year here at the University of Chicago. I'm a first-generation Ukrainian American. And before the full-scale invasion in 2022, and especially before the war in 2014, the economies of Ukraine and Russia were like very inextricably linked, where the energy sector, the construction sector, everyone in Ukraine had some work done in Russia, everyone in Russia had some work done in Ukraine. Obviously, after the war, this is unimaginable to go back to this kind of reality. And so then the reconstruction of Ukraine, it would need a lot of foreign investment from international partners. However, a big problem that I see, at least in Ukraine, and I think this is shared, is that the level of corruption may not give foreign partners enough confidence to invest in Ukraine. How do you expect to combat this after the war?
Thank you so much for your question. So I think that some of part of your question is created under Russian propaganda and disinformation. It seems to me so. I will explain why. So I wouldn't like to hurt you, but I can explain. Actually, now during these 2 years, we move very fast toward European Union and we implement all needed reforms. So we implement all anti-corruptional measures and we create, I think, the most modern in the world, because it's the newest in the world, anti-corruptional system and system of institutions. So we have Anti-Corruptional National Bureau, we have National Agency for Prevention of Corruption, we have highest anti-corruptional court, we have special anti-corruptional prosecutor, and plus many parts of this anti-corruptional infrastructure, and it works. It works on all levels, from the highest top level, top politicians, to the lowest level of public and state administration. And they demonstrate, unfortunately for me, they demonstrate results, but it means that this infrastructure works. This is the one part. The second part, I explain this, we implement digitalization and 130 state services now are given to the people without participation of human factor at all. So this is a huge evolution of the state services, not just for Ukraine, but just for Europe and just for all around the world situation. And this let us prevent corruption at all. So computers do not take bribes. And it's impossible, to make corruption through the connecting of the state registers when you have these public services. I can explain you that before you should spend days, weeks, and sometimes months to have the state services. Now you can take it, you can have it in some seconds, everything. So I am a citizen of Ukraine. I use this for myself, for my family, my friends, and it's a huge evolution. And I think that after this war, and another factor that now we have support from United States is absolutely transparent. We use trust account of World Bank, and we used administrative account of International Monetary Fund. And we always communicate, and there is a stable presence of Inspector Generals of United States from Ministry of Defense, from Pentagon, from USAID, from State Department. So we communicate with them, and they are looking on stable on the regular basis, so they are looking for the accountability and transparency, all the money from our partners. So I think that all of this led us to be very proud by all the reforms, anti-corruption reforms which we implement. I should also note that this is not my statistics and not my data, but you know, there is some group of countries against corruption, so named GRECO, and they recognize reforms in Ukraine and our progress in anti-corruption reforms as a remarkable for 2023, despite the war. And I think that all the other Transparency International also recognize remarkable progress in this process. So I think that corruption, I think that human factor is existing all around the world. But the main task for fighting with corruption and implementation reforms, to fight corruption in the highest political level and to fight corruption which creates oligarch system in Ukraine. So this role is played, and we have no corruption in the highest political level. It's impossible now. Now is a war, and it's just impossible. And after this war, it will be impossible because of the digitalization and because of the creation of this infrastructure. It's important, sorry that I take so long time, but it's important to explain to international society, to our partners, how we implement these reforms. And plus, we implement all reforms for rule of law implementation. I will not explain what are we implementing in our court system, legislative, in our legislation. So, but we implement this all. On weekly basis, our parliament voting different draft laws and different legislation. So you may take a look and you can see dramatic changes. Human factor will be presented, but we have intention and we have strategy how to fight this.
We're going to take, oh, I think they took the mic away.
So they take off my microphone.
Yeah, we could have talked all day. Mr. Prime Minister, on the corruption, I saw firsthand, because I visited your new unit, and one thing that you did, where you're looking at this high level, at a very low level, every public servant is held account, and it's all transparent, and so their bank accounts, if anything triggers a warning, they're in big trouble. And I think it's because in the past there has been concerns about corruption, and I think the President and your government has been very responsive on how do you tell your story about what you're doing, and in some ways a much higher level of accountability than a lot of other Western democracies. So having seen it firsthand, I want to applaud. I'm going to give you one last moment to reflect on your challenges going forward, and to thank all these people for staying with us for so long. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. So thank you for hosting us. Thank you for this very open and very good conversation. Thank you for your support to all American, in your person, to all American people, to our Illinois people, Chicagoans. Thank you so much, Madam Director, Mr. President, in case I can see you, but thank you so much for hosting me and our team today, and to have this possibility to speak with all of you. I wish you all to have a perfect careers, to reach remarkable results during your careers, in your lives, and to bring new innovations, to bring more peace and more stability on our planet. Thank you so much. It was great honor and great pleasure for me to have this very open, very good conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you so much for coming.